type deals. And so I'd be curious, those of you in tech backgrounds, if you have something that you recommend for sort of beginners, but beginning young adults.
So something that is really great for my daughter right now with coding is that she's been meeting one-on-one on a Zoom call with a teenager in Singapore that Manisha connected us to. And this teenager is tutoring my daughter on coding, and they build these collaborative art projects together in JavaScript and make some really, really fun stuff. And so that kind of collaborative tutoring model has been working really well for us.
I don't know if it's at the right age, but I've heard good things about Code Ninjas if there's one near you.
This might be taking the conversation in kind of a weird direction, but I'm wondering if my life would be better if I knew programming. So for 7 years, I've had this vision of building a decentralized education system to replace public school, but I've had an incredibly hard time finding engineers to build it. And, I'm really good at finding teachers. So maybe if I was good at programming, I would have an easier time finding engineers and building the system.
It probably would, but not because you would necessarily program it all yourself, but because then you would have the ability to recognize the difference between a good engineer and a great engineer and a mediocre engineer, and you would set the bar appropriately. These days it's easy to pick up programming. It's never easy, but I think with AI tools, it has gotten a lot easier. So something like Replit, which is an online programming environment paired with their automated code writer, can actually get you a long ways fairly easily.
There's a lot of talk in education about teaching kids creative thinking, entrepreneurial skills, how to learn. Do you think that we need to teach kids how to learn, or if they have these foundations, that's something they can pick up on themselves just by needing to get around in the world?
I absolutely agree on entrepreneurship. In fact, people spend so much time going to business school and business classes, and really running even a small company will teach you everything or nearly everything you need to know about business far better than any business school or business class would.
But furthermore, it's really making everything relevant for young people so that they understand why they're building a website or why they're learning numbers and numeracy and why these things are relevant and practical. And hopefully then they have their own business, right, that they can capitalize on. And my hope is that young people then contribute in ways that solve problems in their communities.
The best way to learn how to be an entrepreneur is to be an entrepreneur. Start where you are. Perhaps if you're just starting out, open a lemonade stand or sell snacks on the street to passerbys. If you're a little older, maybe create some kind of a computer-related business, doing computer consulting or repairs or fixes or programming for older people. If you're even beyond that, maybe start a business in your college. But if you want to learn business, just create a business. You'll figure it out really fast.
I'm also curious to know if you think that it's beneficial for a parent to be involved in part of the teaching. I think that family engagement in education is very important. What do you see as the advantage of having an outside tutor? Do you think that they can explain things better than you? Is it about role models? Is it about feeling like you don't have enough time to teach your kids?
Definitely when I teach, I do it at a level beyond what I think any tutor could do, because I'm really, really paying attention to whether the child understands the issue or not. And the level of care that I have is just going to be greater than any tutor will. That's just plain old parental incentives. That's it. I don't have the time. Also, the kid is used to resisting me. The teacher has tools, including just being a stranger, which may cause the child to actually want to conform and behave with the teacher where they might not want to with a family member.
When people ask me about homeschooling, the first thing I feel obliged to say is that it's not what you think it is. I don't teach my kids anything. I didn't teach my kids anything outside of improv and public speaking for the most part, but rather I was the facilitator of their learning, including organizing interesting classes and finding great mentors for them and for their other homeschooled friends. In terms of how our approach changed over the years, it changed a lot. And like I said, the parent-led, child-approved thing means always adapting to what is going to be interesting to the kids and not always being successful, but constantly iterating and exploring and looking for new things, which, by the way, is also what you're modeling to kids.
I think that parents have to go through a deschooling process themselves, particularly if they are gravitating toward homeschooling and other forms of alternative education, and sort of being reflective on the kinds of learning environments that we grew up in that were often highly coercive, highly authoritarian, very top-down, where we weren't allowed often to explore our own interests and passions. And so it's recognizing that, acknowledging that, and then saying that you want something different for your own children, that you want them to be given the freedom to learn, the freedom of autonomy and personal responsibility that we as adults enjoy. And I think that we're moving closer to that now. I think more and more parents realize that we have so much more personalization in our own adult lives, certainly on the smartphone, for example, that I'm recording this message on, and all of my personalized apps. And I think we're seeing that education is still sort of cookie cutter, one size fits all, and more parents are looking for that personalization and education for their children that they enjoy in other aspects of their lives.
Naval, being the person you are today, what messaging, practicing, and modeling from your parents do you think may have inspired you to become who you are spiritually, cognitively, and success-wise?
I grew up in a very unusual situation, so I don't think it was necessarily modeling from the parents, but I think it was just unconditional love from my mother and from my aunts and grandmother, which were incredible. And they gave me a solid foundation for self-confidence. And then everything else was just reading.
One time I heard the Dalai Lama speak, and he said that everything that he has become is because of the unconditional love that he received from his mother. And I was definitely fortunate to experience that kind of love as well. Thank you so much to everyone who